Another full day out here at Haugh, and probably the final long practice of this mandatory minicamp. They'll start a little bit earlier tomorrow and probably won't go quite as long. But I saw another, I guess I'd characterize it as another up and down day for Caleb Williams and the offense. The cadence, which we're going to get into in a little bit in this update, still certainly a work in progress. They do not have that part down yet. I definitely saw more of Rome Odunze today than I've been seeing, and seeing him making plays and some of the end of game situation. The Keenan Allen connection started to blossom some today, and Caleb Williams was good in that end of game drill. Get started way back in their own zone and then got them into position for a Cairo Santos field goal. And Caleb Williams, guys, had a sequence in 7-on-7 today where he threw an interception, a play made by big Tremaine Edmonds right in the middle of the field. Edmonds took it into the end zone after that. But on the very next play, Caleb Williams with about a 45-yard perfect touchdown pass to the back corner of the end zone to one Velus Jones, and Matt Eberflus was talking about both of those plays right after the practice.
Yeah, it was great. So we talked about this, the last couple of times we've been up here, is that, the process and the exposure and the experimentation, of the quarterback, and that ultimately leads to that whole evolution of what he feels he can and cannot do. Maine's a big guy in the middle, and that's an imposing figure in there, like we've had, the Chicago Bears have had in the past. And I think that's an important part of it. So he's probably going to play most of his opponents and be like, wow, that Mike's not very big. So he's going to be like that. But yeah, balls that are thrown late over the middle are usually not they're usually put in harm's way.
Was your diagnosis of that similar to yesterday? I don't know if it was another unnecessary hitch, but what was it today?
Yeah, I think it was similar. I really do. I'm going to go back and look at it, but that's what we saw on the field.
So I'm sorry. I thought you said a deep ball to Velus Jones Jr. I got a little sidetracked by that.
He did say that.
It's all interesting stuff, and I like hearing Flus talking about the pick, and Caleb having an up-and-down day is interesting. But Velus Jones Jr. getting some run and making a play. That's interesting.
Yeah, well, that's true, Speaks, but I will say this before you get too excited. I think in the two previous training camps, in mandatory minicamp and in training camp, I will say, Velus Jones Jr. has always comported himself pretty well in these camps as a receiver and not just a kick returner. Something tells me that will probably even itself out by the time the season starts. But hey, man, the guy is still on the team. He's still a draft pick by Ryan Poles, so they're going to try to get as much out of him as possible. And who knows, maybe this is the year that Velus Jones Jr. blossoms.
He's the favorite for kick returner, right?
Absolutely, yeah.
So that's the role, and then backup receiver and kick returner. He'll make the team,
and maybe deep shot gadget guy, deep shot gadget guy as a surprise bonus 4th or 5th wideout.
Yeah, and he made a nice play today, guys. I mean, there's no doubt about it. I mean, he looked good. He beat his man and got open for Caleb Williams. Caleb Williams had to put it in a perfect spot, so that was great play by quarterback and receiver.
What else on the offense was notable from the Flus?
Yeah, this is really interesting, guys, and you can even help me interpret this. And we think, or at least I thought, that Nate Davis is your right guard on this team. Nate Davis has been going easy during the mandatory minicamps and the OTAs. He was in team drills today, so as far as I could see, it looked like Nate Davis was a full participant today. But if you listen to Matt Eberflus, and I left the question on here about the right guard position, it might sound like that position is not nailed down yet.
He'll get that.
Yeah, there's been a lot of moving parts at right guard this spring, some due to necessity, some due to experimentation. When we've seen Pryor, Bates, Nate. How do you see that position sort of sorting itself out as you get closer to the regular season?
Yeah, don't know yet. I really don't know. I think that we'll see. We'll see how it goes. I mean, I'm just thinking through my head a bunch of multiple combinations. I really don't know exactly what that could look like. Sure, we had Bates there. He's played there. Sheldon's played at center. Of course, Davis has played there. Tevin's been on the other side. So there's, Pryor's been in and been out. So the versatility there is certainly helpful. And, Ryan did a really good job of having those pieces in there. So we don't, like last year or prior years, a guy goes down for a couple weeks, then we're like, what are we going to do? So at least we have that flexibility now at the O-line position.
Isn't the expected starter?
I'm sorry?
Nate isn't the expected starter at right guard?
Yeah, he's been our starter, right? So I expect him to be in there.
That's a good catch. That's interesting, Grote. I got to say, and my first thought is that it's a reflection on Shelton and Bates, that if he likes Shelton at center, Bates is an acquisition they've been wanting, and maybe Bates plays right guard. And also this puts a little heat on Nate Davis, who's had availability issues.
This is one to file away and see if that actually is a thing in August. That would be a huge miss for former offensive lineman Ryan Poles if he gave $19 million guaranteed on a 3-year, $30 million contract to Nate Davis, and Shelton or Bates takes him out this year when he's an $11 million cap hit. But that would be very surprising.
But this might just be Flus being okay with talking about it and raising the heat a touch. If it does, that's fine. And also letting Shelton and Bates feel like they're really fighting it out and both might play.
But that's what I'm saying, though. Like, file it away when they're actually in pads and practicing. Is Nate Davis routinely not getting starting reps at right guard? He's going to be an $11 million backup guard. That would be shocking. So I don't believe that to be the case.
Yeah, and Coleman Shelton was playing center today, just for the record. But this is the second, season in a row where and I understand that, and respectfully, that Nate Davis had a legitimate personal issue last year, but it just seems like we're always wondering what's going on with Nate Davis, and seeing him not participating really in full, to my eyes, was the first time today. Yeah, they do, obviously, we all know how much that Ryan Poles likes Bates, but I think that they have plans on Bates being the center for this team. So you're right, Danny. We're going to wait till camp, and if it's still ambiguous surrounding Nate Davis, then we have an issue. But the way Matt Eberflus answered that question certainly got my antenna up, and just seeing so much of Matt Pryor out there and Jatari Carter backing up as well. So, yes, something to continue to watch.
He'd be a nearly $13 million dead cap hit this year, only $2 million next year. So Nate Davis.
Bears are about winning this year, though, man. And if they feel like they flopped on that spot, then they'll change it.
Right, but I'm saying they wouldn't cut him. They'd make him a very, very expensive backup. I'm just saying it'd be a very bad allocation of resources. Next year, easy to get out of. This year, I'd be very surprised. But if he straight up gets outplayed, you got to play the better player because you are looking to win. You're correct about that.
I'm glad you played that for us, Grote. It's interesting and worthwhile of interpreting. Did your dear friend Tevin Jenkins make an appearance and talk to you?
Yeah, and look, I know I'm biased, but Tevin Jenkins was the star at the podium today, just with how open and honest he was about Caleb Williams and the offense.
I feel like we're going to have a little rough spots right now. Yeah, we got things we got to get on, like cadence-wise and everything, but that's been pointed out. We can't not acknowledge it. We all acknowledge it right now, and we're going to definitely get on top of that. But so far, everything else has been great.
With the cadence, it takes a while, but from an offensive lineman standpoint, what is the process of learning how Caleb kind of calls things in his voice?
It means a lot. That's what engages us to get off that ball, and that's what's emphasized in this offense. We communicate to him what we need from him, and he has a lot of other things going on. He's running the whole offense, but one thing that we always try to tell him is voice louder, emphasize even if we're going on two, emphasize that second HUD, to make the defense draw off sides, get a free play, and those plays that we got last year. That we got that free touchdown to DJ. That was on a free play, the emphasis on that HUD. The defense makes it real, thinks it's real, so they get off. And just communicating to him that those voice inflections are very important and everything.
This might sound dumb, but obviously you guys are practicing that hearing him out on the field. Is that stuff that's also going on in the classroom of like just like straight up vocal exercises for you to hear what it sounds like?
Yeah, we do walkthroughs in the solo indoor area and just working on cadences. And I mean, we have like one of the best move teams on the whole NFL. Like Billings is probably top voice of doing that, and he's got us a lot. And that's one thing that we got to get better at. And the one thing we always do is in the ITC, what we do is try to imitate that move call with him doing his regular cadence.
How do you do that? Sorry. How do
you want me yelling?
Just yelling at him?
No, you want me to yell? No, you want me to yell like Billings?
What does it sound like?
Move! And then you get back into the cadence. And you try to say ready, and then Billings yell move, and then you try to not jump off sides and get used to him hearing him back there getting loud.
Man, that's fascinating. Who's Dylan's? Who's that about?
No, Billings. That's Andrew Billings.
Oh, Billings.
But you probably know him better as Juggernaut. Remember, that's his nickname. Yeah.
And Andrew Billings. Now, that's fascinating because as little as Caleb is lined up behind center, I wonder how much he's done of voice exercises and if he is loud enough. And as a speaker and singer and person who's dealt with vocal issues, I find myself fascinated with that.
Yeah, well, Justin Fields had this issue. I don't know if you guys remember back when he was, I believe it was his rookie year. And, he's a soft-spoken guy. And I remember them telling us that I think it was Matt Nagy maybe, who had him speak into the tape recorder during I think it was actually after the mandatory minicamp, between minicamp and training camp, had him work on his cadence in the recorder and send some of that audio to the rest of the offensive guys. And I don't know if that's something that they're going to do with Caleb. I know that Caleb and those wide receivers do plan to probably get together between now and when the actual training camp starts, so they'll get to work on that a little bit more. But one other thing, too, to add to what we're talking about here is, I followed up with Tevin later on in the press conference. I said, well, you kind of indicated that that's the biggest problem right now. And, of course, cadence, that's an issue. It's legitimate. But I said, are you guys in good shape if that's the only issue? And he said, absolutely. He said that we're in great shape because if that's all we have to work through in this offense, and obviously there's other things that will have to be worked through, but if that's the biggest problem, that's a pretty good spot for the Bears offense right now.
Yeah, I mean, this is – we can get a guest on. Maybe we can talk to Will Hewlett, Shane, about this in the coming days or weeks. But, it's in college – he came from systems that would call out plays by numbers. There was everyone looked at the sideline.
Yeah.
There would be the placards or whatever, and that everybody would know the plays. So the quarterback did not actually have to say X right, Y this, Z this, and then call out all the routes, call out the protection, call out the count. And in these McVay offenses, a huge percentage of the time calling two plays in the huddle. And then you're checking to the main play or the second play at the line of scrimmage. There's a look at me. So there's a ton of verbalization that a quarterback has to have in these offenses, and he had virtually none of it in college.
And my question, and I agree that Will Hewlett is a great call or somebody like that. How much of an NFL-style cadence of barking at the line has he ever had to do? And how much of that is new? It's interesting. I do love Tevin. Whoa, jeez. I do love Tevin sharing all of that.
That's good.
That's his impression of Billings. Everybody knew that he was saying Billings, by the way.
Billings. Yeah. Just say Juggernaut. It's much easier.
Yeah.
It's much easier. Yeah.
Oh my God, scary.
Very scary.
The inevitable Tevin Jenkins and his future question, Grote?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, I mean, I think that this is, until further notice, it's going to be a question that we're going to, intermittently check up on. When I had Tevin on, I asked him about it, and he, said that he's interested, and they've made some talks, and a similar answer here, but maybe a little bit more from Tevin Jenkins on his season and his future.
What's your mindset entering this year? Last year, your contract, everything you've got. What's kind of
mindset this year? Stay healthy. That's number one. That's utmost importance for me right now. Stay healthy, get through the whole 17 games, and continue my strong play from last year, and be a more consistent, reliable guy.
Have you guys talked to the Bears about an extension yet?
We reached out, yeah. None's on the table.
How do you feel? Where do you feel things stand between you and the administration about having a future here?
Up in here. Can't tell you.
Damn. Tevin is emboldened and honest. This is good. This is a fun development. And that's okay. If they reached out, so Tevin and his agent reached out, nothing is on the table. He knows what he has to do. Contract year. Play well, stay healthy.
Yeah, I mean, that's pretty short, pretty curt, pretty honest. And if you're the one reaching out in negotiations, by definition, you then don't have the leverage in said negotiation. So they're going to make him prove it. He's not a guy that Ryan Poles drafted. He was a high draft pick who was not playing a premium position on the line. Left guards can be replaced. If they're talking about maybe replacing Nate Davis, who was a pretty expensive right guard.
But Nate Davis money on the books this year will perhaps not be on the books next year. Maybe Tevin has earned it and somebody else can play the other.
They'll definitely be able to afford him. Yeah.
Yeah, and as you said, he's not a guy that Ryan Poles drafted, but Ryan Poles found the right spot for Tevin Jenkins. He found, from left tackle to almost feeling like he wasn't going to be on the roster, to Ryan Poles saying, yeah, we actually think that you're a guard. And to Tevin Jenkins, not a Pro Bowler, but, he was a very good guard last year. So he's got to, say, well, he's got some stakes in that in terms of turning this guy into a legitimate player on this offensive line. So I don't know if that has any meaning for Ryan Poles, thinking that Tevin is his own project. But, I think that has to be taken into account to some degree. However, the other side of that, too, is, again, the guy that we've brought up a couple times already, maybe they look at Ryan Bates as a guy who, is capable of sliding into that guard position if he's not the center.
You do think, though, that at this point, the heavy favorite that the offensive line would be left to right, Braxton Jones, Tevin Jenkins, Ryan Bates, Nate Davis, Darnell Wright.
Check. Yes,
that's the heavy favorite.
Yeah, and today was the first day that there was a little bit of mystery in my mind about right guard. But yeah, if I had to put down my rough draft offensive line, that would be it. Yes.
And this is premature. The biggest starting job open on this team is defensive end opposite Montez Sweat.
That's D. Walker, I think, right?
Yeah. Well, look, DeMarcus Walker is the guy, but look, they were looking for all sorts of different alternatives last year to DeMarcus Walker, who had a disappointing season. Now, DeMarcus Walker is acting like a guy who is on fire so far in this offseason program, and I know it bothered him last year when they felt that they had to bring in Yannick Ngakoue. But yeah, and the Ngakoue rumors continue to swirl. I do think it's a very real possibility that another defensive end is brought in. Dominique Robinson. Let's see if it's last call for him out there. But yeah, I think that's a big position of interest too. And
I'm just wondering if we actually know all 22 starters now.
Yeah,
other than center.
Right, center is the other one, and we've talked about that a lot. We still I still think it's going to be Bates, yeah, but we can't say that at this point. Like I said, it's for the last 2 straight days now, it's been Coleman Shelton. So, that job is still open. I think it's going to be interesting, too, to see how the running backs are used. How much do they really love Roschon Johnson this year, Khalil Herbert, and, DeAndre Swift, I think, is going to be, the most used in the running game and the receiving games. Jaylon Johnson kind of doing a little reflecting when it comes to the defense and what to expect from them.
Honestly, I feel like it's a blessing just to see how far I feel like we've came. I think, too, just last year, leaving a lot on the table early in the season and now being able to pick off where we left off at last year, I think is a good feeling. I feel like even adding, of course, Kevin coming in here and adding his veteran IQ to the game, just calling out things, allowing us to play faster, us being on the same page. I feel like for me, too, having him now instead of Eddie, I feel like it's been a very smooth transition, just coming in and building and talking about how we want to play certain things, how he sees it. We see a lot of the game the same way. So I think just on that part, and then just also, too, getting everybody back together, back, like I said, back where we left off at. So, I mean, it's a lot of energy out there for us to have, and I think we can definitely take it up a few notches this year, and then we're going to have a good offense to go against and make us better. So I think we're very excited for the opportunity in practice and for this upcoming year.
Man, it's cool. This defense created 18 takeaways in a 6-game span, and obviously won 5 of the last 8 and finished number 1 against the run. If now this veteran safety, Kevin Byard, who Jaylon is talking about, gets you really excited to think about what can happen with an extra level of professionalism and communication.
Yeah, and it seems like, guys, like to a man, at some point in time when we're talking to these guys, they all seem to mention Kevin Byard, and that's great. I mean, he takes that position, does Byard of leadership very seriously. Byard also playing well. He had a big, good interception yesterday out here, so he has been a welcome we didn't know, with Eddie Jackson gone, and I know his contribution has not been great over the last couple of years, but it did feel like, especially in these last couple of years, that Eddie Jackson was a very important part of the locker room, and it seems like that void has quickly been closed up, at least early on, the way guys are talking about Kevin Byard.
That's good to know. It's not a premium position, but it is certainly a position that leads to a ton of leadership. So, and it's supposed to be, right, back seven is supposed to be the strength of this defense because it's not going to be the defensive line. Jaylon always talks big when you guys ask him about individual goals and accolades. What do you say today?
Yeah, this is a shorty, so be ready for it. But it was a good question, and I thought a great answer from Jaylon Johnson.
Jaylon, I know getting that new contract was the security of it was a big goal for you. What motivates you now that you have it?
Being the best corner in the league.
Damn. That's right.
I like that.
I like that a lot.
Also winning, which I know he's talked about before. Those would be two good things.
For sure. But like being responsible for your own part of what you bring, and he was open about being motivated by the money. What I don't want to think about is being less motivated once the money comes. So keep having those individual goals too.
Yeah, so he was second team All-Pro last year. So, he wants to be better than Patrick Surtain. He wants to be better than Sauce Gardner. Guys like that.
Sauce.
Yeah, those are the types of guys that he's trying to get in the conversation with.
Very, very cool. Kyler Gordon is a fascinating player and hopefully going to step up in the nickel this year. And he's got a lot of good dudes to go against now at practice, Grote.
Yeah, I think that this is one of those times where, we've made a big deal about how, the defense is going to help Caleb Williams be a better player. Well, it's reversed in this scenario because young Kyler Gordon gets to go up against the crafty and excellent Keenan Allen. Here's Kyler Gordon on that battle.
Watching you and Keenan on the slides, like iron sharpening iron, what do you think you can learn just having that matchup when he does come on the slide on a day-to-day basis?
Yeah. For me, with him, already so far, I feel like for him, he's going to keep me disciplined and stuff like that. So, he's a quick-twitch dude as well. I got a really good release and get off and stuff like that. So, for me, staying disciplined the whole entire time. Another thing for him, he's very efficient with his steps that he takes, doing what he does. And so, for me, that makes me have to be even more efficient with my steps and not take as many or just be smooth or come out the break right, read it right. Versus the stem or whatever it might be. So I'm excited to keep battling him and keep getting better with him. Yeah.
It's a premium position. Jaylon talks to us about how corner's the toughest position in football to play. Slot corner's probably even tougher than outside corner.
Yeah.
Just so many more directions you can go. Can't use the sideline as an extra defender. So it's arguably the toughest position in football is slot corner.
Right, and I love the way Kyler Gordon has found. There's a similarity between him and Tevin Jenkins in that Tevin Jenkins went from I want to be a tackle to I fully embrace guard. I am a guard. I'm not even thinking about tackling. Kyler Gordon's the same way. Like every cornerback coming out, they want to play on the outside, but he's fully embraced being the slot guy. I mean, he will play on the outside sometimes, but he has embraced that. And I think like going back to last year's camp where they said, we're not messing around. We're not going to put you in a ton of places like they did in his rookie year camp. And he has found a comfort zone out there. And he's just like the rest of the guys. He is loud and exuberant on defense. And it's going to be fun, especially once training camp hits, to watch that Gordon-Keenan Allen battle.
Mark, I did go back this morning and watch all of Keenan Allen, his entire media session yesterday, about 12, 13 minutes. Really interesting, compelling. We played some cuts earlier. One thing we didn't play, though, he said that in 11 personnel, he'll be the slot. And when they go to 12, he'll be the X. So that means when there's 2 tight ends, he'll be the X. So that was pretty definitive and declarative when I've been wondering if they're going to move Keenan and DJ around a little bit and keep it sort of malleable. That was pretty declarative. We got plenty of time to map that out, but a lot of time in the slot for Keenan, for sure.
Yeah, no, for sure, and that's where he has thrived in his career. You know, we've seen all sorts of different things like that. Like at one point in time, I saw Keenan Allen and DJ Moore lined up right next to each other on the right side in 11 on 11, and DJ Moore shot straight out while Keenan Allen went to, and as he said too, if you listen to that thing talking about working the middle of the field, he just did a short route, kind of floated right into the middle of the field. And Caleb hit him right there. So it's fun. I mean, we've all been wondering, how are they going to do this? What's it going to look like? We're starting to get an idea of it, and Shane Waldron is trying all sorts of different things in this minicamp.
All right, let's get back to the Flus. What do we need to know?
Okay, so Flus is already talking. He did something similar last year where he was giving out homework assignments to the guys at the end of this mandatory minicamp just to keep them sharp between now and camp. And he asked them to put down, 3 strengths and 3 weaknesses, and they're going to review that. But there is more from Matt Eberflus on that.
Really just ask the guys to really just to define their style. Define what their game is. And that's really just a conversation piece to be able to work with the coach as he does his exit interview with his coach tomorrow. And I'll get a chance to look at those things during the course of tonight and tomorrow as well. And just to see if we're on the same page. Because the guy should be able to see if he says he's a cheetah and he's really a rhino, then we're not in the same ballpark. So we are working through that right now. And that's just being, communication and having a good relationship with your partner and your coach.
He's going to just shine on Hard Knocks. This guy is so weird.
Rhino.
Hard Knocks.
Cheetah.
He's a rhino.
He's a cheetah. Shades of Daryl Drake from years ago. Johnny Knox was a cheetah, I believe.
Dragon Slayer, cheetah, rhino.
Wow.
Okay.
Do I have time for one more Flus cut here?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
because we haven't even got Hard Knocks. Hard Knocks. We haven't even got to the star. The star of camp today. I heard it was Tory Taylor. I heard it was dominating. Grotes, he pinned a whole bunch of punts inside the 5, I should say. The coverage team caught one on the 1 yard line. I mean, this is big stuff with Tory Taylor.
Doing it all with an Australian accent. That always needs to be thrown out there. That adds to it. And Matt Eberflus sounds like he's a fan of Tory Taylor.
He's like a trick shot guy. Yeah. It's like, wow, the spin he can put on it. The one he almost had he had a couple on the one, of course, but the spin he can put on it, and really amazing. So it's fun to watch.
3 punts down inside the 10 today, in addition to 4 being down inside the 5 and a windy day. I mean, my God.
He's like a trick shot guy.
Yeah, I don't know that you're giving
how
us
did he
enough
last
love.
until the 4th round?
I
you know what I'm saying?
You guys are both being very, very condescending about this.
Spiegel,
What?
you need to come out here for training camp and witness it for yourself. I am officially inviting you to training camp.
Wow.
I will reserve a spot for you on the sideline to watch special teams drills with Tory Taylor.
I'm in. If I can talk to H-Mac.
H-Mac.
It is a big bonus as well.
Trick
Very
shot
cool.
Tory.
Yeah.
The nickname's coming, man. I can feel it.
It's a trick shot guy.
He's like a trick shot guy. Hard Knocks.
Right.
Hard Knocks.
Minnesota Fats.
Cheetah. Rhino.
Outhouse.
Man.
Oh, man. Few other things to wrap it up here, boys.
Bears Nuggets.
Neither Cole Kmet nor Braxton Jones practiced today. We did witness both of them riding the stationary bikes, and Matt Eberflus said it is precautionary, nothing to see here. So hopefully those guys will be back out here tomorrow. Caleb Williams, during position drills, let out an enormous and astounding F-bomb when missing a bullseye target that they had set up, doing some precision drills, and he just let out a monster F-bomb, which was...
Love it. Attention to detail. That's star mentality.
I'm concerned that he can't control his emotions.
No, I like it. I like it.
Also, one thing I noticed in the end zone as the Bears were on the other side of the field during their drills, I'm hearing this barreling laughter, like intermittently, and I was like, oh, it's Montez Sweat. Yeah. I don't know what was so funny, but
doesn't matter.
Since we have zeroed in on that Montez Sweat laughter so much on the Parkins Spiegel Show, I think I was the only reporter that was able to pick that out. That was it.
Well, he just got the scripts for the first episode of season 2. Yeah. He's doing lines for the guys.
Very funny.
That's Montez.
Funny. Yeah, I mean Larry David's writing it now.
Yeah.
I mean he's got time. See that's awesome. Montez will tell you what's funny. Okay, just remember that.
Oh yeah, no, absolutely.
Two great guys up front, Justin Johnson and Yannick Ngakoue, but we got some guys, some young guys that's really stepping up.
That's Montez.
Mm-hmm.
That's Montez.